Hey there, Internet. Regular at Magical High School, episode 4. So they start this episode off with them pretty much kind of going over everything which kind of happened in the last, or at least like how the last episode ended, with him pretty much battling up against most of the other Kendo people, and practically him destroying them and kind of giving his report. Also kind of goes into them explaining more characters, and this is one of those episodes which does kind of explain how pretty much the main character can use his ability to pretty much know other people's, or at least like kind of gives him the Tatsuya in this case. They kind of explain how he pretty much can cancel out magic, in a sense that he can do it without a anti-wave generator or whatever. It's the fact that, for one, he can read other people's magic, right? And with that, he can use the second principle, which is the reason why why they don't use two magic bands at once. Because if they try and use two magic bands at once, their magic just shuts down. And in a sense, you have to know which type of magic it is, and I believe which level it is, or pretty much at the end of the day, you need to know what kind of magic that person is going to use, because if you use the same type twice, it cancels out the armband. And that is something in which that he does, or at least like how he kind of got around a lot of the other characters' abilities, or kind of shut down their magic, is because with his armband, he pretty much can release a mini wave towards their bands, kind of tricking them into thinking that that person has another one, shutting down their magic, which is actually kind of how he did his thing. And pretty much they do kind of get into a whole thing of like, why don't you go public with this? And he's like, yeah, they need to know. Yeah, man, it's just a theory, even though it actually worked for me numerous times. It's safer to say that the only reason why it works for him is because, again, he's the only character who knows, who pretty much can tell what type of magic a person is going to use without them really even knowing, without using a supercomputer. So there is that. However, going into that though, we do kind of slowly get into this whole thing with the girl from the Kendo class out here trying to ask him to join the Kendo team and join their cause to kind of destroy the discrimination barrier between people who use magic and pretty much who don't use magic. And as it kind of turns up later on in the show, as Tatsuya is attacked by some guy in a hooded sweatshirt, my best guess is that is possibly somebody from the Kendo team, which that he does kind of easily just take them down, and then they run away. Kind of hinting to the suspicion of some type of organization called Blance or something like that. And as they do kind of explain it, as I just offhandedly kind of explained it, people who use magic, people who are not good at magic, but yet are good enough to use it. They don't want to be discriminated, but they don't want to stop using it. So, in other words, it's like somebody who has a gun and says, "Yeah, man, I'm a terrible shot, but I still want to be taken seriously if I have for my swordsmanship." It's kind of like that, Instead of them just throwing away the gun and focusing way more upon swordplay, they still want to have the gun and still be good at swordplay. It's pretty much like that. And that's kind of pretty much the biggest thing, or at least like that is kind of the biggest story plot of them kind of getting into how things are going right now, because enrollment is practically over. However, going into that though, most of this episode, just like most of the other episodes, they kind of keep doing that joke, which at this point I kind of just see it as like, that is just how they are. You know what I mean? They pretty much, man, just act all lovey-dovey in public just to fuck with people. However, I kind of take it as more as like, man, his sister really isn't more or less, man, just like really into him. I take it more or less, man, like, man, she just doesn't want him to be used by anybody. And honestly, give or take, man, with how most animes are, if a guy pretty much, you take a nice standing guy, add his sister, who pretty much cares for him a lot, and throw in the word gigolo, she instantly starts thinking, man, he's messing around with other girls, as that is kind of a thing, you know, especially seeing as that, like, you know, she really wants him to get a girlfriend, but, you know, really is kind of acting all weird about it, especially since that, man, she doesn't really trust most of the girls in that school, which, give or take with how things are going, I kind of don't fucking blame her, especially since that, like, the kendo team is obviously the biggest thing within the, or at least, like, the kendo team, senior there. He is one of the people of the Blance organization, which is why they do want Tasi in there. And his sister, she does have some good instincts to kind of worry about that. So there is that. So this episode was alright. They finally got into talking about what is going on and finally threw in a faction to kind of become a potential threat. However, at the same time, they did spend a lot of this episode outright explaining that almost 3 times to this point, of them explaining it once when Tatsuya was having was hanging out with the girl from the kendo team, to them being in the student council room, all the way up into the ending in which that they kind of explained it again. It's like, seriously, they kind of hammered that shit in, but hopefully now they really won't try and go back and talk about it again. So pretty much that is that. So what do you guys think about this episode? Please tell me down there in the comment section. I'll catch you on the next John Grave show. So please keep watching anime, keep playing video games. I am out.